Good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing? I hope you all are well. Today we are once again here doing the Course in Miracles lessons. And the lesson for today is lesson 87. We will be reviewing lesson 73 and lesson 74. So let's get right into it. Number 73 is, I will, there be light. I will use the power of my will today. It is not my will to grope about in darkness, fearful of shadows and afraid of things unseen and unreal. Light shall be my guide today. I will follow it where it leads me, and I will look only on what it shows me. This day I will experience the peace of true perception. These forms of this idea would be helpful to apply this idea. This cannot hide the light I will to see. You stand with me in light, and then you put the name of a person. In the light, this will look different. Okay, that was lesson 73. Now let's do lesson 74. There is no will but God's. I am safe today because there is no will but God's. I can become afraid only when I believe there is another will. I try to attack only when I am afraid, and only when I try to attack can I believe that my eternal safety is threatened. Today I will recognize that all this has not occurred. I am safe because there is no will but God's. These are some useful forms of this idea for specific application. Let me perceive this in accordance with the will of God. It is God's will you are his son, and then the name of a person, and mine as well. And then the last one is, this is part of God's will for me, however I may see it. Alrighty, so let's go right ahead and try to break those two down a little bit better, so we can understand it. Okay, so I will, there be light. So we have so much power in our will. We can will things into being. So if you understand that you have that power to will things into being, you can will whatever you want into your experience. So if you will light into your experience, then there will be light. Remember, light is within you. You are the light of the world, and all you need to do is but let it come out. You have to will it out. And the only way you can do that is by making that choice. You have to consciously choose that you want light in your experience. You want to be able to see light through your human eyes. Your true vision is there, but it's almost, you're kind of not aware that it's there, because you are not allowing it to come forward. So you got to will it forward. You got to will your experience into the experience you want it to be. So the lesson for today is helping us do that by giving us some forms that we can use to apply it. And these are a few of them. So this cannot hide the light I will to see. This cannot hide the light I will to see. So when you have an experience that you are interpreting or you perceiving as negative, you have an opportunity to see that experience differently. You can shift your perception by becoming aware that you are looking at it negatively, and shift your perception and see it differently by using this specific statement. This cannot hide the light I will to see. So it's a choice. Try to do it today when you come across something that is difficult or something that's changing the way you perceive and you're in a negative space. Try to see it differently. Will it into a different experience for yourself. See the light in it. That's what that statement is for. Next one is, you stand with me in the light, John, just to use a name. You stand with me in the light, John. You can use any name of a person that you're thinking of. And remember that just as you have the opportunity and the choice to stand in light, to perceive things through light and through love, you can also help your brothers and sisters do the same by seeing them there, even though they can't see themselves yet. For whatever reason, if they're going through a lot of difficulties or having a lot of problems in their lives, you can see past their problems and see them for what they truly are, which is God's son or daughter, and they are in the light. They are at peace, they are filled with love, and they have everything they ever need. And you have to see that for them sometimes. So you stand in the light with me, John. Here's another one. In the light, this will look different. So the Course is again telling us and repeating the idea for us to see it. And we can choose any statement we want that is similar to it. But here we're using, in the light, this will look differently. So just like in light, when regular light, when you turn on the light, things, you're able to see it, right? That's the same thing with true vision. When you open your eyes to true vision, you see what really is there. And only when you make that shift in your mind and in your thoughts and in your heart will you see what's there. So you have to turn on the light. True light, not the physical light, but true light. And that's what you need to do. You need to turn on that inner guidance, that true vision, so you can see things differently. And that's what this statement is all about. In the light, this will look different. Alrighty, that was lesson 73. Now let's do lesson 74. There is no will but God's. So, as we have said before, God is in charge of everything that's going on in this world. And his plan is perfect. And his will is the only will that is true. All the rest, everything else that we do, everything else that we try to control is not real. It's just part of the illusion. So the only will that really exists is God's. And we got to come to that realization that nothing we do, any plans that we make, they're all on a different plane. They're on the illusionary plane. They're not real. They don't really make a difference. They give us experiences, but it's a human experience. It's not a spiritual experience. It's not God's son's experience, God's son's or daughter's experience. It's an illusion. So we have to understand that the only will that really exists is God's will. What he wants to happen will happen, and it's all for one purpose. It's all for us to return to him, for us to see true vision, for us to see that there is only love. The only thing that really exists is love. So here we go. These are some forms that we can use for the application of today's idea. And one of them is, let me perceive this in accordance with the will of God. So when you come across situations today, you have an opportunity to look on that situation, become aware of where you are thinking first and foremost, and then shift that thinking. Now, if it's in the right thinking, in the right mindedness, which means that you are using God to guide you, then you're good. But if you are perceiving it negatively, or you have some fear in it somehow, then you can choose to make the statement, let me perceive this in accordance with the will of God. So it's a helpful reminder to focus, not just react, not just immediately come up with a solution or immediately come up with an interpretation or intention behind it or thought. Those are all ego reactions. It's about calming yourself, taking the time to become aware, see where you are at, center yourself with God, and then perceive it differently. And use what the will of God really wants you to do, which is to see that situation through the eyes of love. Okay. Now the next one is, it is God's will, you are his son, John, and mine as well. It is God's will. You are his son, John, and mine as well. So once again, that is repeating that there's only one will. So the will that I have, the will that John, the person's name that I used, has, is still God's will. Our will and his will are one, because we all are one. So all of us are trying to do the same thing. We all are trying to return to God. We all are trying to connect to that ever-loving presence that always exists and is always there and is never gone. And what we do is we try to focus on the illusion sometimes, and we lose awareness of the connection, but the connection still exists. So this is a way to remind yourself, it is God's will. You are his son, John, and mine as well. It's for us to remember that what we're doing is still God's will, and we can't do wrong, because ultimately he's guiding us, and we just need to open up to it to make it come faster. It's still going to happen. There is no way it's not going to happen. God's will be done. But it's how quickly we get there, and how much experiences we choose to have before we get there. And we can help others get there quicker by seeing them for who we truly are, and then reminding them by our actions who they truly are. All right, so now the last one is, this is part of God's will for me, however I may see it. There we go again. It's another reiteration of the same thing. This is part of God's will for me, however I may see it. So every situation that's happening to you right now, I know some of them are really difficult. It's still God's will for you. Now, why would you say, a lot of people sometimes get upset and get angry. Like, why is this happening to me? What's the purpose? What did I do wrong? It's not that you did anything wrong. It's more so that there's things that God wants you to experience to become closer to him. And sometimes we don't see it that way. Sometimes we are focused on what we want to happen and when we want it to happen. So sometimes we have to realize that, God gives us opportunities to connect to him, and sometimes he gives us little whispers and we don't listen, and sometimes he talks a little bit louder and we still don't listen. So then he talks really loud by giving you experiences for you to understand, hey, you need to wake up, you need to realize who you are, you need to connect to me, and you got to remember that my will be done, and you want that too, so let's get to work. That's basically what God does. And it's us that we choose to just listen to what we want and when we want it, and that's where we get into trouble. So this is what we need to realize, and when we come across situations, let's remind ourselves of this statement. This is part of God's will for me, however I may see it. Okay? So these are a couple of lessons that are, a little bit harder to swallow, but they're good. They help us focus. They help us remember who we are. So thank you for joining me today. I hope you are safe and having a wonderful day. Stay close to those that you love, and I hope to see you again tomorrow. All right. Have a wonderful day. Bye.